Preston Bell Charles III.
Testing. Hey, good evening. I'm Dave,
Hi,
Dave.
and this is True Theater. Welcome as we continue our 14th season of building community through the sharing of true personal stories. The name of tonight's show is True Money, and the theme of tonight's show is hands.
Actually, that's next show. Tonight's is all about money.
That makes more sense.
Any first-timers in the audience tonight? Wonderful. Well, you're in for a real treat. We have a lot of fun things going on tonight, and we'll tell you all about those a little bit later, including some of the incredible stories that we've got lined up for you.
That is wonderful. Yes, and for those of you watching from home, I see you out there. We're coming to you from downtown Cincinnati in the beautiful, historic Memorial Hall. And a big round of applause for all the staff and volunteers here who make us feel welcome every time we come. Thank you.
And another big thank you to Norse Media, NKU's student-run media organization, who are making live streaming of this show affordable by sponsoring the cost of the rental of the equipment they're using.
A round of applause for them. But although the live stream is affordable, it is not free. And for those of you watching for free from home, oh boy, if you could find it in your hearts to donate even just a little bit to help us cover the cost so we can live stream the next show for free, that would be wonderful. We are we're showing ways to do that right now. You can text 44321, the number 44321, the code True14. I really should have looked at my script a little bit more. Or you could scan that QR code. Hey, you all can donate too. I mean, I know you're here on a ticket, but everybody could donate. No amount is too small, to be honest. We could use every bit, and we appreciate every donation.
Now, to be honest, some of you have already donated.
Fair.
We're very grateful to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And some of you will be inspired to donate to us by the end of this night. So remember, as Dave said, no donation is too small or too big.
That's a challenge, by the way. Also at intermission, he did read this. That's the thing. Also at intermission, one of our board members is going to be walking around with something called a dip jar. If those of you here are interested in making a quickie $15 donation, you can just dip your credit card in there. There's this really satisfying ka-ching. For those of you who did not get to experience the ka-ching last show, we have turned up the volume on it, so you'll definitely get it this time. And that would be really wonderful. And everybody who does will get a True Theater pin and a True Theater pen. So that's something. Yeah.
Right?
And now, what you came here for.
Okay. Apparently I didn't read the script either. At True Theater, we always say that everyone has a story to tell, and the only difference between strangers and friends is the sharing of that story. So tonight, you're going to meet 5 new friends, our first of whom is a retired executive who spent 39 years in the insurance industry. So you may be able to guess how much he's enjoying retirement. He and his wife are currently following a 5-year, 5-stage plan to circumnavigate the world. And we're going to be looking forward to hearing some of the stories that come from that, but in the meantime, he's got a very different story to share with you tonight. So please welcome Joel Davenport.
My wife says I'm the most honest person she knows. In fact, she says I'm honest to a fault. Emphasis on the word fault. That's just kind of the way I am. I mean, if I'm out to a restaurant and they leave something off the bill, like a second run of drinks, I just point it out to the waitress. That's what I do, even if it's not popular at the table I'm sitting at. But that honesty was really challenged last summer, of all places, at a gas station convenience store. Yeah, as the temperatures rise, so do the prices of gas. And it was up around $4 a gallon last summer. And so when it dropped to $3.50 a gallon, I said, wow, that's great. And I went out one day to fill up my gas can so I could do a little mowing. It was a very busy place, big gas station convenience store, and it took a while to find an open pump. When I did, punched in my credit card information, and that's when I realized something was wrong, really wrong. The sign outside said $3.47 a gallon. The pump said $2.47. And all the pumps I could see said $2.47. And I said, son of a nutcrack. But it was a moral dilemma immediately, because I was debating inside my head. I said, I really should go in there and tell those poor convenience store folks what's going on out here. Then I thought, wait a minute. This is a multi-billion-dollar oil company. They're not going to miss $1. They're probably overcharging us by $1 already, right? And I can stick it to the man. But then I thought, who am I really sticking it to? Is it the man, or is it those poor convenience store people? But wait a minute, it's $1. I mean, I've got a loyalty card that gives me a nickel off, maybe. This is $1. It's the opportunity of a lifetime. And then I thought, maybe it's not this life I should be thinking about.
Oh my God.
I mean, I'm not a super religious person, but I do think about what might come after, and I thought, am I selling my soul for $1?
Per gallon.
Yeah. And then I looked around, and I realized that every pump was busy. This was a 4-bay, 4 pumps per bay, gas station convenience store, and there were hundreds of gallons flowing. Big cars, small cars, SUVs and trucks. Yeah. And you know what else? Everybody was so happy. Yeah, they were smiling, they were giddy. There were people on their phones saying, you need to get down here. Yeah. And I was standing there thinking, this is like an impromptu moment of joy. This must be what Woodstock felt like. Only without the drugs. I thought, you know, I could go in there and tell them, but do I really want to spoil this wonderful moment we're all having together? Nope. I stuck the nozzle in the gas can and started pumping. But it was only a 2-gallon gas can. I have my wife's Volvo, and I did promise her I'd top off the tank. So I unscrewed the cap, put it up there on the roof for safekeeping, and stuck the nozzle in. 6 gallons in the car, 2 gallons in the can, 8 gallons, and $8 saved. And almost immediately, I had a wave of guilt flowing over me. So, what have I done? Press the receipt button. It printed out. There it was, flapping in the breeze. Permanent record of what has just happened. I thought, maybe a few months from now, I'll get a letter in the mail from the oil company. It'll say, we know what you did last summer. Yeah, your loyalty card is hereby revoked. No more 5 cents off a gallon. No more free coffee after 10 refills. Nothing. Ever. Then I thought, rightfully so, I started thinking about the people inside the convenience store. I thought, what about them? Who's going to pay for this? This could be like the biggest payroll deduction thing of all time. Or maybe somebody will get fired. Yeah, we're having a lot of fun out here. Yeah, I guess. But I feel like I've generated some bad karma. And maybe I can reverse that karma by just go in there and tell them what's happening. So I did. When I went inside, I was 4th or 5th in line. And I thought about cutting, but then I said, they'll overhear me. I'm going to be a tattletale. A snitch. What do they do to snitches? This could get ugly. I better stand back here in the back of the line, like a good person would do. So I did. I finally made my way up to the counter. And as I started to tell the clerk what was happening, her eyes grew really wide. Her jaw started dropping as I said, yeah. And she said, "Son of a nutcracker," which is not exactly what she said, but she ran to the back room and she started punching furiously into a keypad. I could see her back there. And then she came out and she looked a little relieved, very relieved. And she said, "Thank you. Thank you for telling us. Thank you for your honesty." I thought, oh, there's that word. It's like a dagger in my heart. Honesty. So I felt like I had to come completely clean. I said, well, actually, I did pump some gas. Do I owe you anything? But I think I knew the answer before she gave it. No, that's okay. Just thank you so much for letting us know. Well, still feel a little guilty, but most of the guilt gone. I thought, I saved $8. Maybe I should buy something. So I walked around for a couple minutes, and I really wasn't feeling in the mood for candy bars or beef jerky that day. So I said, I think I'll head on out. But I paused at the door, thinking maybe there's an angry mom outside. I know if my wife was here, she'd be part of that mom. But I looked outside, and it seemed like the coast was clear. So I went outside, and boy, was it clear. The place had completely cleared out. No more Woodstock, that's for sure. There was just a couple of lonely guys pumping gas, frowning. The universe had been restored to its natural order. And then I went back into the car and I sat there and I thought, I'm feeling kind of smug now, maybe a little self-righteous. I mean, all those people pumping gas, nobody went in there. Am I the last honest person on earth? What is this world coming to? Then I fired up Volvo and I pulled out of the gas station into traffic. And I heard a clunkety-clunk up on the roof. Oh no, I left the gas cap up there. And I watched in the rearview mirror as it fell off into traffic. Oh, son of a nutcracker. Pulled back into the gas station. And I parked the car and I went over to the street. It was very busy. But luckily, the gas cap had landed right there in between lanes. So if nobody changed lanes and the traffic cleared, I could just go out there and get it. But just then, a jacked up pickup truck came roaring past, changing lanes, and I watched as the gas cap exploded into 1,000 pieces of shrapnel. What now? I went back to the car and I sat there and I thought, my wife is expecting her car back in just a few minutes. And there's no gas cap. The check engine light's gonna come on. What am I gonna do? I thought, I'll just call an auto parts store. So I did. And there was a lot of banter back and forth. We finally determined that they had one that would fit the Volvo. So I ran down to the gas station and bought the gas cap. As I walked out of the auto parts store, I had a lot to think about, like karma and honesty and the $8 that I'd saved. Then I thought ahead to when my wife would notice her brand new $15 gas cap. She would be asking, what's up with that? And I would tell her the story. But then I would have to wonder if she still thought that I was honest to a fault.
One more time for Joel. So I'm a little more together now. And I know that during the opening, there was a picture behind us of my friend Heather modeling a t-shirt. And the reason why that picture was there was because we were supposed to tell you that there's t-shirts for sale out there. Most of them are $20. They're great. If you already have one, you probably want to buy another because they're so nice. You might lose the first one and you'll be distraught. Now we're caught up. Our second storyteller tonight is from Columbus, Ohio, and spent her undergraduate years at the University of Cincinnati studying psychology and Africana studies. Since then, she's been involved with nonprofit management and fundraising and enjoys creating and connecting with the community, for example, by sharing her story. Please welcome Nkemjika Ihuku.
This is a story about how I went to jail over $200. It was a Saturday night, and I was driving home from a friend's house. I had to use the restroom bad. It was a combination of the seatbelt hugging my bladder and me sitting down. And of course, the car in front of me was driving painfully slow. We arrived at a stoplight. And I knew this was my moment to get in front of him and to get home and use the restroom and be on my way and go on about my life. So I saw the light on my right was moving from green to yellow. I felt like I was in the Fast and Furious. I knew that when it switched to red, that I was gonna zip in front of this guy and go forward. My moment arrived. I took my foot off the brake and I accelerated forward. My timing was absolutely impeccable. What I didn't know was that there was a police officer watching. He was not impressed. So he hits a U-turn, turns on his lights, and proceeds to pull me over. Now, you all seem like normal people. And normal people would pull over, but I'm a Gemini. And I also saw a Facebook post from one of my friends that said they were being followed by a police officer, but they were close to home, so they pulled into their driveway. And as they were pulling into their driveway, the police officer kept going because they were on their residence. I thought I would have the same luck. I made the decision and I was committed. I hit left into my neighborhood, went down the hill, stopped at the stop sign for 1 millisecond, 2 milliseconds, and then pulled forward until I found the first parking spot that I could find. I got out and was signaling to the police that I had nothing in my hands, but I was letting him know that I had to use the restroom. I'm sure you're wondering, girl, did you make it or did you use it on yourself? I made it. Thank you. But I got 4 charges and a required mandatory slip to appear in court. So I appeared, and of course I had to plead guilty because I was wrong. And I got my fine, it was $200, and they let me go. And I was like, wow, that was a close one. It could have been a lot worse. But at the time, I was a young professional living my life, and I didn't really take it seriously. So after work one day, I'm at home watching TV, and I get a knock on the door. I go to the peephole, and I look out, and there's no one there. So I ask, who is it? And they say, Covington Police, let us in. So my dog is near me, she's barking like crazy. They come in and they say, you need to put your dog away. Perfectly fine, so I put my dog away and I'm coming out, my heart is beating, and they ask me, do you know why we're here? honestly baffled, I said, no, I don't. And they said, you owe the city of Covington $200.
Oh, Jesus.
Y'all would think that I borrowed $10,000 from a mob and they were coming to collect their dues. I was scared out of my mind, but I'm not a runner. They're in my apartment, so there was nowhere I could go this time. I had to comply. So they told me, we need the money right now or you're going to jail. And I said, well, I don't have my debit card because I ironically lost it that week, so couldn't even pull out money if they would allow me. And they said, well, we need cash because that's the only method of payment that we accept. I had $100 in my bedroom, but I didn't have the other 100 to fulfill it. And I asked, could I pay half? And they said no. So I was really stuck. And they said, there's no one you can call? And I thought about a couple people. The first person was my mentor, but I didn't want her to see me in this light. The second person was 3 to 5 minutes away from me. And I'm sure you all are probably thinking, that's the person, that's the one you call. I liked her brother, so I didn't want to call her. He was not gonna know I was this irresponsible. So all the mothers out here, thank you for being a mother. Thank you for doing what you do every day. I called my mom, like Dave said, who's in Columbus, an hour and 30 minutes away. And I let the police know, well, the only person that I'm going to call is my mother, and it's gonna take her about an hour and 30 minutes because she's in Columbus. And they said, well, we're gonna have to book you. They had me put out my wrist. They slapped the cuffs, sorry about that. They slapped the cuffs on my wrist and they escorted me down to the car, to the police car. Tears were filling my eyes, but they actually were pretty kind because they prepped me for what I should expect when I went in. I get there, the facility is actually really clean, bright, and they just give me a whole bunch of paperwork, so much paperwork. So much that I would never wish it on any of you in this room. So it was nothing like the TV shows because I thought I would just get thrown into the cell, but it was paperwork after paperwork, mugshot, and then I got put into a room with 2 other women. They gave me a calling card, but I knew my mom was an hour and 30 minutes away. So I was like, you can have my calling card, because you know when you're in those situations where bad things are happening to you, you want to do something for other people because it lifts up your spirits. So I wanted to lift up my spirit in that moment and offer someone an extra call. I did that, and the moment I did that, I started to think, what if my mom wants to teach me a lesson? What if she decides to keep me here all night? I would want to know that, be prepared, acclimate myself to this experience. I don't think I can handle any more surprises tonight. I lost hope. Time moved by slower and slower, and I was wondering, is she coming? And right when I lost all hope, they opened the door, called my name, and they said I was free to go. My mom had arrived. I ran out to her. I cried. She said, did anything happen? I said, no, I just want to get out of here. She took me home. I went home and literally put this behind me and was like, wow, I don't want anyone to ever know about this because that was really bad. Girl, you should have just pulled over. That was a lot. So I was relaxing at home, fast forward a couple months later, and there was this Netflix show, and it was about different life topics. And I was binge watching it, so the one that I came across was about the mugshot industry. And I was like so into this, like, ooh, this is juicy. Like I didn't know that you could make money off of mugshots. And then it dawned upon me, I have a mugshot. So my stomach sunk to the floor, my heart started beating, pacing. I was like, you gotta look, you gotta know. So I go into Google, page 1, all of my career accomplishments. I feel good, my head's lifted up high. Page 2, all of my accomplishments at the university, my shoulders go back. I feel good. And then something said, no, keep looking. So I was gonna go through all 10 pages if I needed to. You know, once the Google search starts to wind down, you know the search that you're looking for, maybe not there, but I got to page 3, and on page 3, there it was, first picture on the row. And I will say, they didn't even get my best angle. It was a horrible picture. You know, I couldn't even be that one that was booked, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, she's so hot. It was just like, girl, you can tell you was going through it that night. So there was an ad to my right that said, if you need your mugshot taken down, contact us. Now, I forgot to mention that I didn't finish the Netflix series because I panicked. So I immediately got on the Google search and started looking up. So I didn't finish the ending of the show. And so I get to the ad and I contact the group and I say, please, I need to know how many pictures of my mugshot is on different websites. They said, sure thing. We'll find all of them across the internet and we'll give you a quote. And then once you pay that money, we will do the work to take it down. I said, wonderful, wonderful. So I wait for their response. They come back and I don't even care what all the pleasantries are. I'm just like, how much is it gonna cost me? I get down to the end of the paragraph and they say, we found it on X amount of websites and it's gonna cost you $2,000. And then it hit me. This is the scam. This is how you make money off the mugshot industry. And I said, no, I'm not gonna do this anymore. I owned it. I said, I'm not gonna let the shame keep me hidden, and I'm not gonna keep paying money, and you guys might just keep making this picture pop up. So what did I do about it? I'm half Nigerian, half Black American. Now, if you know anything about Nigerian parents, they're very strict. I told my Nigerian father, and he said, if I was your mother, I would have left you there overnight. So when I was able to tell my Nigerian father that, I was unstoppable. I then told the guy that I was afraid to call his sister, I told him, the guy that I was crushing on, and he was actually understanding. Did we date? No. But it's okay. So once I told him and my dad, I started blogging about it, started telling people on social media. Anyone I talked to, I didn't let anyone get away without knowing that this happened to me because I was going to own it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Y'all are really supportive. And so after owning it, I realized that I'm always gonna go to the bathroom before I hit the road. And I'm not gonna procrastinate because procrastination is costly. So this is my message to you. If there's something that you wanna do or need to do it. Because if you don't, it could cost you way more than you expect. Thank you so much.
Okay, can we give it up one more time for Nkemjika? So, we have one more storyteller before intermission, but wait, there's more. In addition to buying t-shirts in the breezeway and making our dip jar go ka-ching, another board member, Zach, let the people know where you are. Yes, there's Zach. Zach is going to be walking around during intermission with bingo cards. Now, some of you may already have these, and by meeting people in the audience tonight, you can fill in your bingo card. Get 5 in a row or any 8 squares filled in and return it to Zach. And we'll be pulling some of the completed cards at random after intermission. And if you filled out your card as instructed, imagine I have glasses and I'm peering over the top at all of you, you'll win 2 free tickets to our next show in April. Yeah, right? Yeah. Yes! And we're also starting to rebuild our collection of photo booth props. So go have some fun at the photo booth out in the bar area. Post your pics to Facebook or Instagram and tag True Theater. Like these fun folks. They were from our last show, I heard that. We'll be checking the socials in the next few days, and we'll also choose from some of those individuals to get some more free tickets to the next show. And again, we have another board member, Ramona, and a good friend of this show, Rod. Let the people know where you are. There you are. And they'll be able to assist you with anything that you need during the photo booth. Now, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Our third storyteller tonight has always had several careers going at once. This means he is impressively multi-talented, or that he can't hold a job. He does hold the record for being an on-air personality at WEBN Radio 38 years, from 1974 to 2012. He was there so long ago, he told me last night that he was the first person to play Stairway to Heaven on the radio. He has also worked at other stations, created commercials, jingles, song parodies, and produced comedy material heard all over the country. His steadiest gig right now is as a regular columnist at Cincinnati Magazine, and if we paid our storytellers, he'd be doing much better than most, because tonight is his 4th appearance at True Theater. Please welcome Jay Gilbert.
I'm going to start at the end of my first marriage. It was quite a while ago, and fortunately it was not nasty or ugly. We did not argue over money. We did not argue over custody of the kids. We had 2 kids, they were about 10 and 12. We didn't argue over the house. In fact, we gave the kids custody of the house. We got an apartment about a mile away, and we rotated between the house and the apartment. The kids stayed at the house. And if you ever find yourself in that situation, I recommend doing that. We did that for the first year. And it was during the year that this happened. It was the time when I was at the apartment, Carolyn, my first wife, and she's here tonight, by the way. And she'll tell you everything I get wrong here tonight. I was at work. I worked at WEBN Radio for many years. It was the afternoon I was on the air. And she called and said, I need you to come to the house tonight after work and stay as late as you can. And come again tomorrow morning, stay as long as you can until you get to work, and then after work, come back to the house again. You need to come to the house. I said, why? She said, well, there's a lot going on. There's about a dozen people here right now at the house, and they're going to stay here all night. Actually, I scheduled a shifts of people. They're going to be coming through the night and the day. There's going to be about a dozen people here day and night for the next 48 hours, and I need you to join them. There's a lot we have to do. Why? Well, there's money here at the house. There's about $100,000 in cash here at the house, and we are laundering the money. What do you mean you're laundering the money? She said, we are washing and drying and ironing $100,000 in singles. It's all singles. We have $100,000 bills here at the house. You know, you get those big sacks, you see people thrown into Brinks trucks. we've got a whole bunch of those sacks, and they're full of money, and we have to clean them. Why? She said, oh, when you get here, by the way, don't use your key to come in the front door and knock, because there's a security guard here with a gun, and he doesn't want to get surprised. There's a guy with are the kids there? Are they home from school? Yeah, in fact, they're having kind of a good time doing what they're doing. So now that I have your attention, let me tell you a little bit about my job you know about. Let me tell you about Carolyn's job. I worked for WEBN. They were owned by a company called J-Corps. Their headquarters was downtown Cincinnati. They owned about a dozen radio stations around the country. And Carolyn also worked for J-Corps. She wasn't at WEBN or downtown. At a whole separate location, she ran their market research division. And it was her employees that she had scheduled to come and go through to the house for 48 hours. The radio station that caused the problem, you might be surprised, was not WEBN. It was a station much like WEBN. It was in Nashville. Y107, if anybody's ever been in Nashville. They played rock and roll and they did crazy stuff just like WEBN. They even had fireworks for a couple of years. And they had this crazy contest, and it required the cash. And what they did, they called the bank in Nashville and said, we need, our credit is good, we need to borrow $100,000 in singles. For about 2 days, we'll pay the interest. And some of the winners of our contest are going to keep some of the money. We'll, of course, make good on that. And the bank said, okay, well, why? And they said, well, we have this contest. It's called Rolling in the Dough. And we're registering people right now, and there's going to be about 10 winners. And on the winning day, they're all going to gather. We're going to have a live broadcast, and we're going to have a kiddie pool. But it's not going to be filled with water. It's going to be filled with this money. Thousands of singles is going to be in the kiddie pool. And the 10 winners are going to be there. They're going to be in bathing suits. We've also got several gallons of honey. And we are going to pour the honey over each winner. They're going to smear it all over their bodies. They're going to jump in the kiddie pool, roll around in the money, get out, and whatever is stuck to them, they keep. That's the contest, rolling in the dough. And the bank said, oh, well, that's very amusing, but you can't do that. That's illegal. It's defacing currency. Sorry, you're going to have to call off the contest. Well, they didn't call off the contest because, they're a crazy radio station, and they're kind of what they did was they called J-Corps headquarters in Cincinnati. They explained the problem. They said, we need you to get $100,000 and send it to Nashville so we can do our contest. And they did. They got a bank in Cincinnati. They drove the money to Nashville in a Brinks truck. They had the contest, poured the honey, rolled around in the money, the winners and stuff, threw it all back in the sacks. They were supposed to clean the money in Nashville. Without getting into the details, they got some signals crossed. That didn't happen. They just threw all the money back in the sacks. It drove back to Cincinnati, went into a vault. The next morning, the bank calls the treasurer, J-Corps. Says, what the hell is all over this money? We went to the vault, and there was something oozing out of the bottom of the sacks. He kind of played dumb. Oh, well, I don't know. I'm going to have to make some phone. He knew what it was. Well, banks talk to each other. And then he gets a call from the Treasury Department. And they say, you're in deep shit. You committed a felony that you were warned ahead of time not to commit. And you went ahead and did it anyway. He said, look, give us back the money. We'll clean it. We'll get it back to you. They said, no, it's evidence. You can't have it. So there was a lot of back and forth, and eventually they said to the bank, are we still paying the interest on this money? And the bank said, damn right you are. And they said, well, then we should be in possession of it. Give it back to us, and we'll clean it. So they did. They gave it back to J-Corps. But they said you have 48 hours to clean the money, stack it in packs of 50. We'll give you the little paper wrappers to put around the 50s. And if you get it all back to us by Friday at 5 o'clock, maybe you won't go to jail. It was Wednesday. So they said, what are we going to do? They couldn't go to a laundromat. So they said, our market research division, Carolyn Gilbert runs the market research division. She has a bunch of employees. They called her It said, we need you to shut down everything you're doing, send everybody to your house. She said, why? Well, then, of course, they told her it's basically the plot of a bad sitcom pilot. But they sent the money to the house. They got this operation going. Carolyn called me at the radio station, told me what to expect when I got there. So I got there in the evening. And I walked into, I could only describe as a Henry Ford quality assembly line of work. In the dining room, we had a dining room table. We put the leaves in the dining room table, and there was a whole ring of people around the table. There was always a ring of people working around that table for the next 48 hours straight. And they poured the money onto the table. That was also happening at the coffee table, in the living room, at the kitchen table, in the kitchen, separating the stuck money from the unstuck money, putting it into pillowcases, putting pillowcases in the washing machine. Hot water, a little bit of liquid Tide, runs for about a half an hour. Take it out of the washing machine, put it in the dryer, run it through the dryer for about a half an hour, take it out. I should mention, since everybody hates the government makes an excellent product when it comes to paper money. You know, when you put a phone number in your pocket and it goes to the laundry, it's destroyed. There's nothing left. When you do this with money, it comes out just fine, but it is wrinkly, so we had an ironing brigade up also in the dining room, ironing the money. I think if you could steam about 10 bills at a time. And then there were other people that were putting them in stacks of 50, putting it back in. So we had the armed guard there. His name was Mike. He was not wearing a uniform. He was wearing a Hawaiian shirt. And here's why this is relevant. On the second night, after we consumed an incredible amount of pizza and beer, and it was just crazy, and it was going day and night, there was an unscheduled knock at the door. Mike stood up, put his hand on his hip. Carolyn opened the door. It was a delivery boy from the pharmacy. Pharmacies used to deliver to your house. And there was a prescription we needed for our daughter. And so Carolyn opened the door, and this kid looks on this scene. Mountains of money everywhere, laundry basket, people counting it over here, over there. Over there is a guy standing with a gun and his hand on his hip. So he handed her the little bag and said, "Lady, I won't say a word to anybody." So here's the bottom line. They got it done. They got all the money cleaned and stacked and back to the bank by Friday at 5 o'clock. I wasn't there for that. I was back on the air pretending like nothing happened. Everybody was sworn to secrecy. You know, I'm just on the air going, "Here's Stairway to Heaven" again, you know, just nothing. And everybody else just couldn't say a word about it. The kids went to school. But it finally got done. The bank made $3 on the deal. Because our son left his allowance on the piano in the living room. And of course, he wanted us to reimburse him for that, but there was a lesson to be learned here. You've got to be careful with cash. And so that all did happen, and as it turned out, it was one final adventure for that marriage and the four of us in that family. And it only cost $3. Thank you.
One more time for Jay Gilbert. All right. Before you run off for intermission, before you buy your t-shirts and dip your credit card in the dip jar and play bingo and go to the selfie station, I have one other announcement for you. One of our scheduled 5 storytellers for tonight, unfortunately, is having some serious complications following surgery and can't be here with us. The good news front, he's in good hands, he's getting good care, his wife is also taking great care of him, and his story is one that I've been after since 2015, and it will definitely appear on this stage eventually. So we're all thinking of him tonight. But what this means for you is that we have a little extra time in Act 2 for some short stories, maybe from some of you. If you've been inspired to think of your own money-themed story during Act 1, there is a basket and some forms over on the t-shirt table. You could fill it in, and we'll call up 2 or 3 names in Act 2 to come up and kind of impromptu-like share your money-themed story. So be thinking about that, and we'll see you in 15 to 20 minutes.
Now, you should know a little bit more about this great man.
Yeah.
Preston busks all over and plays in venues all over town. Yes. But he also teaches at Wyoming Fine Arts Center, is the music director of the Cincy Hip Hop Orchestra, which he founded during the pandemic. Yes. And he's played all over the world. He also finds time to work for his father at the Preston Charles Funeral Home, and he's the proud father of 2 daughters and a son. Preston is also a dedicated advocate for those affected disproportionately by the war on drugs, bringing awareness to the lack of attention given to mental health issues as part of his efforts.
He has a ton of things to applaud for, that's for sure. And he's got 2 documentaries out, which you can easily find on YouTube. His most recent, Divided Roots, Seeing is Believing, is a film designed to open Cincinnatians' eyes to what neighborhoods all around Cincinnati have to offer and to encourage folks to explore them to become even more Cincinnatian. In fact, it was the inspiration behind the theme for our last show of stories, True Hood, stories from and about the neighborhoods of Cincinnati, at which he also shared a story. Give it up for Preston Bell Charles III.
Now, if you've been out here tonight sitting there thinking, this really looks like something I might like to do, we're still looking for stories for our next 2 shows of the season. True Hand is on Thursday, April 25th, and True Scam is on Thursday, July 25th. Now, if you think you might have a story that fits either the themes of hand or scams, let us hear from you through our Share a Story page of our website at truetheater.org, or by writing us at stories@truetheater.org, and someone will be in touch.
And if you're not sure if your story fits those themes, send it to us anyway. We love collecting stories, and if they don't work for a particular show, we got them in the catalog. We might be calling you down the road.
And I guess it's not too early to mention that for True Hand, we are bringing back Pitch Night, something we haven't done since before the pandemic.
Yeah, literally, the last time we did it was one day before I stopped going into work for the pandemic. Yeah.
So Pitch Night is an open mic event, free to participate and free to come watch, where people who might like to pitch a story for the next show have a chance to share a shorter version of that story before a live audience. It's a fun night for everyone involved, and usually we'll find at least 3 of our storytellers from the show.
Or more, yep. And for True Hand, Pitch Night will be held at Big Ash Brewery on Tuesday, March 5th, probably about 7 o'clock, subject to change. Easier than remembering all of that, however, you should get on our mailing list at truetheater.org and follow us on all our socials. We're at True Theater there. Just remember, see it right there, we spell theater the fancy way, ending in R-E. Yeah.
Did someone say bingo?
No, not yet, but there it is. That worked just the way I envisioned it. Great. Well, we have collected your bingo cards, and if you filled it out correctly, you may win you will win if we pull your name out, 2 free tickets to the next show, or if you can't make that one, the show after. You already have a subscription, you give them away. There's all sorts of ways we can work this out. The point is, we need to pull your name out of the hat, and you need to have followed the instructions. I'm going to let Marcellus pull the first one. We'll call 3.
With the other hand.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you.
Oh my God, you're killing me. You're killing me.
We are, the last name is Reed, R-E-I-D. All right. And I can read your email address just fine, so we'll be in touch about that. Congratulations. All right, I'll pull it. You want to? Okay, no, you. You got a free hand.
We've come this far.
We have. All right, I'll get one. This person looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think you filled it out enough. I am so sorry. I'm not going to award this person. Oh, wait a second. I may be wrong. I was looking for 8, but also 5 in a row is good. My brain. I'm glad I worked this out in front of you all. Tara Pettit. Congratulations. And well done on following instructions.
I need you to shame him later.
I'm plenty shamed. Thank you.
The next winner is Susanna Waterhouse.
Yes, all right. Long time friend of the show. And I'll bet if we looked, she probably filled out more than anybody. She was going around. I already got 5 in a row, but I'm still... Nice job, Susanna. Okay, that's great. Hey, thank you all for playing. Yeah, really wonderful. We love to do this. It's a great way for people to get to know each other. I tend to sense the extrovert's the one who grabbed the cards, but the introverts get to participate when the extroverts come up to them and ask them if they are a CPA or have a savings bond. So thank you all for participating tonight. Now, some more stories.
Yours.
Yes.
Yes.
And I don't know what comes after that. I forgot to turn the video in. You can take it if you see.
If we pull your name out of the basket, we ask that you acknowledge yourself and then make the long trek around that way. Come up backstage where Annette will meet you at the steps, and you can come out here with us and share your story. Easy peasy.
I can't find my script, so I'll just tell you that we're just going to be standing back here while you tell your story. And if you go on like too long, because we are asking for short stories, we're going to just kind of tell Preston to start playing. And if you hear that, yeah. And oh yeah, discordant notes, I love it. And so if you hear that, you know you need to wrap it up. And all right, so that's great. We'll just start drawing names now. Does that work?
Yes, please.
Yes. I told him he'd only be on stage 5 minutes. All right.
Are you taking a show already?
We just might, thank you. Terry Kent. Terry Kent. Is Terry Kent in the audience?
Come on down.
Come on over, Terry. We got some music while Terry's playing. Coming on around. A little interlude by Preston Bell Charles III. Terry Kent.
First, I'd like to give a shout out to my wife in the back. It's her birthday today. Happy birthday. So, the name of my topic is Pickpocketed in Amsterdam. So, it was a great surprise that my cousin, who was in the Air Force, was getting married in Europe. He had met a girl while he was on assignment in Denmark. So my aunt couldn't afford to go over to Europe to fly to his wedding, but I was the only family member that was able to go over to witness his wedding. And it just so happened I had worked hard at my job that year, and it was November time, and so I had to hadn't used my vacation, so I was able to have enough vacation to go over to visit my cousin and be part of the wedding. So I was flying into Luxembourg. He was stationed in Bitburg, Germany. And so I flew in, I was going through Amsterdam into Luxembourg. So I had about a 6 or 7 hour layover, so I had this brainiac idea being a traveler, although this was my first trip to Europe, so I was a little nervous about that. So I decided I would rent a car for a few hours and go see the canals in Amsterdam. I mean, how hard can that be? So I get the rental car, and lo and behold, of course, I don't know the language. So I'm kind of looking at the green signs on the highway trying to figure out where I'm supposed to go. You know, there's no Google Maps in those days. This was in the mid-'80s. So anyway, I'm finally find my way with the green sign point giving me to the city center. So I had my AAA tour book. So I figured wherever I parked, I could figure out how to get to some of the canals. So I get in the car, parking garage, head on out into the Amsterdam, try to find where I am on the map. And I don't know how much time later, somebody grabs me by the arm and holds onto my arm, and it seemed like he had pointed a gun at the side of my side. So the first thing I did is I jerked around real quick, so he didn't have a hold on me. So I was just walking around the streets of Amsterdam trying to figure out what to do. And he points to like this old lady that's walking by us. He said, "See that lady? She doesn't know English. She's not going to be able to help you." So I don't know how long it took for me to go through this little saga, but sooner or later, I think I had gone at the airport, let me back up. At the airport, I'd gotten this wasn't the day of euros, so I had to get some, whatever they were. And so I only had about $80 worth of money in my pocket. So then finally at the end of my walking all around, figuring out what to do, I just grabbed the money out of my pocket and gave it to him. And he said, "Gee, thanks for supporting my drug habit." Well, not too much later, I looked across the street. Catty corner to me was a police station, but that didn't help any at that time. It already had happened. But lo and behold, the joke was on him, because I don't know if you remember the days of traveler's checks, but in my back pocket, I had about $750 worth of traveler's checks that he didn't get. So even though it kind of spooked me for the rest of my trip, I guess I was lucky in the fact that he didn't get all of the money I had. So the moral of the story is, you know what they used to say, the sergeant on Hill Street Blues used to say before the cops went out? He said, "Be careful out there." Thanks.
Well done, Terry. Thank you. We got time for another. You want to draw this one out? Man, I got it.
Thank you.
All right, let's see what we got here. This is totally... Can I take a look? Dan Cohen. For real.
Good evening. I'm Dan Cohen. I work in the private aviation industry. I've worked in that for 17 years, and the first thing that people ask me when they find that out is, what crazy celebrity stories do you have? What crazy requests have you had from these celebrities? And I have a lot. But tonight I'm not going to talk about the 8 quarts of goat milk that one particular client asked for every 1 hour flight that they had. I'm not going to talk about requesting nerds for her kids for their trip to the Bahamas. Tonight I'm going to talk about a real life Devil Wears Prada moment. Do you guys remember in the movie where Meryl Streep's character is demanding that what's-her-name's character, Anne Hathaway's character, gets her out of the hurricane. So I had that happen. There was an NBA player. I was working at a company called Delta Air Elite at the time, which is no longer in business. It was owned by Delta Airlines and their private jet division. And I got a call. It was on a Saturday. I don't know if you remember in 2008, the Hurricane Ike. Yeah. So it was bearing down on Texas, and eventually it kind of came up our way, and we lost power for a week and a half. So there was an NBA player in Houston, and I'm not allowed to say his name because of confidentiality, although I did just say name. So what the hell? I get a call from and he said, hey, I have to get out of Houston. The hurricane is coming, and I can't get my NetJets flight. And so I'm like, all right, well, we'll go there, but it's going to be really expensive. And I quoted him some astronomical figure that I didn't think he would ever book. But out of desperation, he booked it. And we flew our plane from CBG all the way down to Houston, flew him from there, picked him up, took him and his family to Miami, and then flew the plane back. It was $50,000 or something. And as soon as the plane got back, I got a call from his wife. And she said, your pilots left our most valuable bag on the plane. And of course I walk over to the place where the plane was, and I look in the cabinet, and there, lo and behold, is this Louis Vuitton roller bag that is 75 pounds. And I call her back and I say, we have the bag. How do you want us to send this to you? She goes, no. You have to bring it to me. And I said, well, there's a hurricane. and also, we can just ship it. We'll send it to you same day delivery of FedEx. And she says, no. All of our valuables are in there. And first I'm thinking, why would you, of all the bags to leave the bag with all of your valuables? But luckily I worked for an airline, and we all kind of talked and agreed that I would, that day, fly to Miami on Delta, and then hand the bag off and fly it back. Now, there's an additional complication to that, is that the TSA won't let you take a bag on a plane if you don't know the contents. So I had to get a permission from wife to, over an old webcam, because this is before Zoom, before Skype, on a webcam with the TSA officer to go in our conference room and watch me go through the bag. Gold bars.
Gold bars.
Millions of dollars in jewelry. Passports. Children's birth certificates. About $250,000 in cash. And maybe some marijuana. So, of course, she's very anxious to have this bag back. And I loaded it back up. She watches the whole thing. We zip tie it. There's a thing that we signed that said we weren't going to open it again. And I couriered this bag in a hurricane from Cincinnati to Miami with the bag in the seat next to me on a Delta Airlines flight, not first class. And I walk out, there's a sign, there's a guy with a sign that just says, and so she wasn't even there. And I hand him the bag, he says thanks, and I turn her back around and flew home. And that's my story.
I think we have time for one more. So we're going to pull another, because I'm going to do the thing.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so right off the top here. Ethan Fosco. I have a feeling that, come on up, or come on around. This would be a good time to remind people that the show is being live streamed. So if you release any confidential information and your stories, it may get out there. All right. Ethan Fosco.
Hello.
Hello.
So about 2 years ago, I'm enrolled at UC in fashion program. And 2 years ago, we have a co-op program, or EEP, where you can choose to work for yourself. So I chose to work for myself on my own project. And I did my fashion show, a first fashion show, if anyone has ever been to the Mockbee. That's where I hosted it. It was the day of the show after 4 months of preparation. I had already spent all my money. It was 3 hours roughly until showtime. But I was missing a garment, and I was wandering through Target, and I vividly remember the only time that I've ever stolen an item was in 7th grade. I stole a lighter from the CVS on Ludlow. Got caught red-handed. And I decided, why not steal for a second time at Target? The biggest day of my life. What could go wrong? So the garment that I had to purchase was in the ladies' department. I had to purchase a bright red thong, as G-stringy as possible. And I'm walking around and I find the prize. And then I'm walking around Target for half hour, maybe 45 minutes. I'm too nervous to purchase, I'm too nervous. So then I finally stuff it in my pants. Thinking no one saw. I get to the door to leave, and the guy stops me. And he's like, I know what you have in your pants. So he says, you have to get out or pay for it. And this isn't at the door, it's not like low time, there's a solid 20-person line. So he makes me stand at the very back of the line holding the red thong in my hands until I purchase it. And that is the story of when I learned not to steal. Yeah, thank you.
Ethan! It's terrific.
I have also learned not to steal.
Yes. Me as well. One more time, thank you for Terry, Ethan, and Dan. That was really great. Do you have anything you're supposed to say before we get on to our last storytelling? Oh, we do, yes. If you also put a story in here and didn't get to share it tonight, or if you've been thinking about other stories, we would like to keep the party going. We have created a page on our website called says something up here, My Money Story, and you can scan the QR code if you're watching from home right now, I guess, and go right there and share your story, and we'll share some of them online. Keep this party going and keep the theme of money in our heads for the next couple of weeks. How about that? So feel free to share your story, and we put a link also at the top of the page. If you just go to the website at truetheater.org, just remember, we spell it the fancy way, ending in R-E. Okay.
Yeah, that didn't take way too long at all.
Yeah, you're right. We should bring out our final storyteller for the evening. Folks, when I asked this gentleman for some biographical information, he said, I'm not big on introductions. Here he is, Curtis Shepard.
What up? You good? Everybody good? You said y'all was having fun earlier. Anyway. Father, daddy, dad, granddad, stepdad, adopted dad, foster dad. All these are great and wonderful titles. But the title, or dare I say, the label given to me was Dollar Store Dad. And trust me, it was not a term of endearment. My journey into fatherhood began about 13 years ago. And I know some of you are looking at me. Yes, I got started late. So if anybody has any Abraham jokes, we can talk about it later. Like a lot of men who want to have kids, I met a woman, a beautiful woman, and we were in love. Or lust, whichever one it was. It felt good. And we decided to have a child the old-fashioned way, the traditional way that was handed down from her parents to her, my parents to me, out of wedlock. No, seriously. And it worked. It was quite good for a while, a few years. And then I was comparing it to my childhood, and I figured there are a couple of things that I didn't want to be in my daughter's life. I didn't want to be an absentee dad, and I didn't want to be a deadbeat dad. So I was way ahead of the game as far as I could see. I stopped acting. I came off tour. I got a job, a real job with benefits and insurance. Whenever I got paid, I would take mom some money. That's right, I said I would take her some money. We didn't live together. Remember, that whole traditional thing was going on. And that was cool for a while, but sadly, about 3 years in, I lost that job due to downsizing. And it had been a couple of weeks since I had taken mom some money. And so one day I'm sitting at home, there's a knock on the door, I get up, I answer it, but there's nobody there. And I'm looking left and right, and I look down, and I see my little princess with her thumb in her mouth and her overnight bag as mom drives off up the street. And the first thing that goes through my mind is, the fuck am I gonna do with a 3-year-old and no money by myself? So I do what any decent, loving, kind father would do. I gently pick her up. I bring her to the house. I grab her favorite blankie, place her on the couch, grab the remote control, turn it to PBS Kids, find all the junk food I can find in the house, put it in front of her, and then I pray that her mom comes back to get her before I run out of treats. Doesn't quite happen. So the next morning, I collect myself. I'm thinking, okay, I can do this fatherhood thing. I'm gonna make some breakfast. We have cereal, but no milk. I've got a debit card, but no money. I've got a car, but I don't have any gas. So instead of sitting there crying, waiting for someone to give me some money or a job, I decided to start my own business. That's right, the plaster surgeon, residential and commercial, drywall and plaster specialist. And the money was coming in, and it was good for a while. When I got paid, mom got paid, but sadly, due to some issues with the housing industry, bankers, lenders, we were forced to vacate that property during the housing bubble. And we were homeless. So finally, we found what I like to call an abandonmenium. That's a structure posing as a house, but there's nothing like a home. We did not have a kitchen, we did not have heat, and we did not have a bathroom. So every night before we went to bed, my daughter and I would go around the corner to McDonald's to get a bite to eat and to use the bathroom. Then we would come back home and place boxes up against the door where we slept at so the raccoons and possum couldn't come into the room. And I would call my sponsor complaining, and he would always say, hey, take the focus off of mom and keep it squarely on you. And I started thinking maybe mom was in such a foul mood because maybe I wasn't carrying my share of the load. So instead of just the weekends, I would extend the days and keep my daughter a little longer. Shit, in fact, I called up some connections and I enrolled her in Head Start. Look, I don't know if any dads in here have ever enrolled their kids in school, but you go to fill out that paperwork, man, and it's like mother's name, mother's maiden name, next to kin, and I'm like, fuck, where do I sign at? That's okay, but we're gonna change that though. So I enrolled her in school, and then we went to do something that I love to do with my daughter. We went shopping for school clothes at my favorite store, the dollar store. Feeling good about it, so I go to drop her back off, and then her mom comes out and she says, you know, it takes more than money to be a father. You a dollar store dad buying dollar store clothes, and that just ain't gonna get it. I was like, damn. I was totally defeated, but yet undaunted. I left there, called a bunch of my friends who were going through something similar. We'd cry, laugh, complain about all that stuff that was going on. We even came up with a name for our little group. DAM. D-A-A-M. Dads Against Angry Moms. Oh yeah. But with our limited fatherhood, parenting experience, we were really just like babies changing each other's diapers, man. We were getting shit all over ourselves. And after a while, the name stuck, but my focus began to change. I started thinking, how am I gonna raise my daughter on a dollar store budget? Then I remembered my mother. I said, fuck, I'll just do my best impression of my mom. And a whole lot of moms out there who raised their kids without dads being anywhere in the picture. Dig, man. Good parenting is good parenting. And good parenting is not limited to a mom or dad title. And then I started thinking, let me push the envelope. Let me put myself in the best position to take care of my daughter as if the mom wasn't around. Because suppose she wasn't, then what? Suppose all the questions, the answers, and decisions, suppose they fell back on me and I did not have mom to fall back on. Then what? And that's when it hit me. Her fucking mother was right, man. It takes more than money to be a dad. It takes time, quality time. But how do you get that quality time on a dollar store budget? Glad you asked. $10. I'll take that $10. I'll put $5 into my tank. Then I'll take my daughter down to my favorite store. What store is that? Dollar store. Well, yeah. We go down to the dollar store and we buy some microwave popcorn. Usually comes about 4 to 6 in the box, about $3.99. Take it home, pop some of that up, take your kid to the park, and I'm telling you, if you've never done this, you gotta do it. It is the funniest thing in the world to watch a group, a gang, a flock of ducks think the only thing that's standing between them and an endless supply of extra buttery popcorn is a small human. It is the funniest shit ever. Dust, grass, feathers, everything is going all over the place. Dad, you gotta record that. Plus, it is a great teaching moment to talk about family unity. When my daughter was younger, she didn't really like vegetables, but she loved strawberries. So now I'm thinking, with my adult logic, maybe, we go back down to the store. What store? Fuck yeah. And we buy a 99-cent pack of cherry tomatoes. We take them home, we plant them. They come up, and you know, cherry tomatoes kind of sort of maybe look like strawberries to a tiny kid. They're not as sweet, but she tried it. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. So now, here's another teaching moment. I take my baby this time to Kroger. 4 tomatoes, look boo, $5. This is gonna last us about 2 weeks. We can go across the street to the and we can spend 99 cents on a pack of tomato seeds and have tomatoes fucking all summer long. You can talk about return on investment like that. Today, my daughter can do that type of math. I want to tell you that last year, DAM, Dads Against Angry Moms, became an official nonprofit. Yeah. Look. And one of my favorite events, 3 years running, is our Plant with Dads events, sponsored by Funky's Garden Center, Ace Hardware, and Rookwood Starbucks. So what we do, we invite all these dads to come out, right? And you pick out a pot, you decorate it with the paint that we get from the hardware store, you plant it, you go get some whatever plant you want, and then you take it home. It's great quality time. All of our events are always free, and moms, you are always welcome to come. But one of my favorite stories, look here. My neighbor, Chris is a no-nonsense blue-collar guy. Chris has a wife and 6 kids between the ages of 5 and 13. I invited Chris to come out to our event. He shows up with all 6 of his kids and no wife. I'm like, where's your girl at? He's like, man, I decided to give her a break. Like, you doing the damn thing. That's what's up. That's what's up. So everybody's, sectioning off and getting their stuff together. And Chris is kind of hesitant, a little sheepish. So he's kind of standing over to the side and like some CIA secret intel shit. He's like, Kurt, let me holler at you for a second. Let me talk to you. So I'll go over there like, yeah, what's up? He says, look, man, I don't know shit about planting shit, so can you help us? Like, fuck yeah. So roll up my sleeves, man, we start planting, and it's a great time. The kids are loving it. They're decorating their pots. But the best part about that story is a few months later, I'm taking out the trash, and Jay, Chris's son, he darts across the street. Mr. Curtis, my cucumbers and my string beans, they're growing. I'm like, yeah, that's what's up. Then Chris comes out like, shit, man, he eating that shit right out the yard. I didn't even know he liked string beans. So now we're talking about mulching. And look, our little community event, our Plant with Dad's event, just imagine if it were an annual citywide event. Just consider. I'm just trying to sow some seeds. It is about a year now. I guess it's been about a year. But about a year ago, I had a heart attack. And one of my drywall clients calls me up and said, dude, you need to come up to my yoga class. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's cool, get in shape and stuff, good health thing. So I grab my daughter, we go up to the yoga class, and I'm in there and I'm stretching. I'm like, fuck, I am really out of shape. So I look around and I'm like, I am the only one in this class that looks like me. Not just a man, not just a black man, but an old-ass black man with a kid. And I'm like, oh. But again, I'm not daunted. I started thinking, suppose there are about maybe 10, 15, 20 more older men in here with their kids. That's a fucking good memory. That's a good memory. So this year I'm thinking about, hey, let's do an annual yoga with dads in a park thing. We can do that shit yearly for good health. Only thing we need is a volunteer yoga instructor. Just, nobody? Okay. Yeah, that's all we need. And then somebody to sponsor us for the yoga mats. It's just, okay, once again, I'm just sowing the seeds. That's all I'm doing. There is an amazing number of adults and kids growing up with gaps in their memories because they can't recall really good, healthy experiences with their dads. I'm getting emotional. There are a lot of dads out there who stay away because they don't think they have what it takes to create these great memories with their kids, no matter how old they are. But you know, no amount of money can guarantee you a good memory with your dad, and no amount of money can guarantee you a great relationship with your dad. That's what I began to tell all the other crybaby dads who are just like me. And I invite them out to join us. And I'm inviting you out to join us. As dads, families, groups, individuals, if you have ideas or suggestions, or you just want to support, call me directly. Let's get to it. Damn has evolved. Our number one mission is to encourage absent dads to be present dads. Present dads to be good dads. Good dads to be great dads. And if you are a so-called great dad, then we need you to come out and share your strength, hope, and your experience with the rest of us and tell us how you do that shit, man. So I want to encourage you. All my dads, especially my dollar store dads, fucking go and get them kids, man, no matter how old they are. take the spotlight off of mom and put it back on you. And just remember, when you create that memory, it ain't gotta be expensive in order for it to be valuable. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Curtis. Now, we would like to share that Curtis is currently one of the artists in residence this year at Cincinnati Playhouse on the Park, and his showcase, Sideways Rain, is this Saturday night at 7 p.m. in the Playhouse's Shelter House Theater, and it's going to be great. You can find tickets for sale for that on the Playhouse website, and don't sleep on getting your tickets because as of about 15 minutes ago, there are only 10 left. So tick-tock, people.
Yes, yes. Folks, that's our show. One more time for all our storytellers tonight. Joel, Nkemjika, Jay, and whoever's just now, Curtis, and our audience storytellers, Ethan and Terry and Dan.
And Preston Bell Charles III.
All these people up here, and all of you, it truly does take a village.
T-shirts are still available. And the dip jar will also be floating around, so cha-ching.
And we'll be looking forward to seeing you at Pitch Night on March 5th at Big Ash Brewing, or back here for True Hand on April 25th. But until next we see you,
Be true.